we already know that the pressure is very, very high on the Republicans to get this done. We've been talking about that for weeks. But it seems as though this election now has ratcheted up that pressure even further, if that's possible.
Well, obviously, Republicans need to get some accomplishments on the board. This election in Alabama was a botched election by the Republicans. It was a no-brainer. They should have won it. They lost it during the primary process. They nominated the wrong guy. I think Roy Moore was perhaps one of the worst candidates in the history of politics. He not only had the allegations of going around shopping malls when he was 30 years old, but he also was just a bad candidate in the modern times. Of things that he said consistently alienated just about everybody. So he's a terrible candidate. So that means for the Republicans, they're not quite sure how this election is going to go in 2018. So they got to put some accomplishments on the board, not only to boost their chances in 2018, but if they lose the House and the Senate in 2018, at least they got something done in the first 2 years of the Trump White House.
So, John, you say it was a botched election. How much of it was the direct result of Steve Bannon? We had Anthony Scaramucci on earlier on Bloomberg, and of course he served for 11 days as the communications director, and he had this to say. He basically laid it at Steve Bannon's feet. Let's listen to what he had to say.
That's a very tough loss for him, but don't underestimate Steve Bannon. I mean, he's a warrior, and that's one battle. There's a bigger war, but Bannonism has to be defeated by the Republican Party, and frankly, Bannonism has to be defeated by America. You don't want this level of disunity and this level of contention, and so that was a good day for America yesterday in the sense that Bannon lost. I don't think it was a great day for the Republican Party either way.
So, John, a good day for America because Steve Bannon lost. Do you see it that way?
I don't think you can blame political consultants. I think you have to blame the actual candidates. Roy Moore was a terrible candidate. I mean, Bannon did back Moore during the campaign, but you can't blame Bannon for that. You got to blame the voters of Alabama in the Republican primary. This does have ramifications for other primary challenges. The neighboring state of Mississippi, for example, there might be a primary challenge against Roger Wicker, who is a great candidate. Hopefully he'll win. If they nominate someone like Chris McDaniel, that could be another problem for the Republicans because he's every bit as volatile as Roy Moore. So hopefully Republican primary voters will learn from this. If you put up really flawed candidates, they're going to probably lose. Roy Moore was a terrible candidate, and he lost.
Well, it wasn't just in Alabama, though, right? Because we had the Virginia result as well. What is the brand of the Republican Party at this point? I mean, I could ask this of the Democrats as well, but you have the Trump brand on the one hand, but it doesn't seem to have any ideology behind it. And then you have sort of the more traditional Republican brand. But where do Republicans take this at this point? It seems like there's no unified message.
Well, I think the biggest problem with this president is he's easily distracted. The brand should be a brand that grows the economy. The economy is going like gangbusters. Jobless claims are down. Wages are up. Unemployment's way down. We have this huge growth that's going to happen. That should be the brand of the Republican Party. Instead, the brand is whatever Donald Trump is tweeting on. If he just would stop tweeting, I think the Republican brand would be much stronger. Virginia was a special case. Virginia, is really close to the Washington media bubble, and so they got caught up with all the president's tweets. The other thing about Virginia is it is a blue state that has become more and more really kind of fixated on government spending from the federal government. So, I think that they wanted that. Republicans have been against increased federal spending. So, but Virginia definitely was a special case. The other thing that Republicans have to understand right now, what happened in Alabama and happened in Virginia, is we're getting killed with suburban voters. If we don't do a better job with suburban voters, appeal especially to the soccer moms, suburban women voters especially, that's a real problem for Republicans. They've got to figure out a strategy to cut into the debt deficits and those demographics. If they lose those demographics by these numbers nationwide, we're in big trouble.